Let's be real. In order to win in today's NFL, you need a little bit of star power. But unfortunately, whether it's due to looming cap space or disagreements with a team, not every star player is gonna stick with their franchise. In 2020, Tom Brady, Trent Williams, and DeAndre Hopkins headlined the group of superstars who found new homes in the offseason. In 2021, it was Matthew Stafford and Orlando Brown Jr. In 2022, we'll see several marquee players swap teams. Perhaps the group will include a pair of future Hall of Fame quarterbacks too. So, who will stay and who will go? Here are 5 NFL superstars who will change teams in 2022, and 5 who will remain with their current clubs. New team, Russell Wilson. The Seattle Seahawks star quarterback wouldn't exactly confirm reports from the 2021 offseason that he wanted out of the Pacific Northwest. Wilson can say all he wants about how he'd like to stay in Seattle, but it doesn't make sense for either side to continue this marriage. The Seahawks need to rebuild and compile as many draft picks as possible, and Wilson needs to go to a team that can help him chase more rings. Hello, New Orleans Saints, Pittsburgh Steelers, and Denver Broncos. If Wilson supposedly wanted out following last year's 12-win season, why would he wish to stay in Seattle following an extremely disappointing 2021 campaign? Wilson is getting you multiple first-round picks in a trade. Even with Russ in the fold, Seattle is far from being a Super Bowl contender, especially in the unforgiving NFC West. Sadly, that's just the reality now. Why would Wilson want to be part of a rebuild when there are several teams that are one QB upgrade away from Super Bowl contention? This has been a wonderful partnership that was highlighted by a Super Bowl 48 championship, but it's best for both parties to move on now. Very few of the all-time great quarterbacks finish their career where they started. Just ask Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Joe Montana, and Johnny Unitas. Stay. Aaron Rodgers. Unlike Wilson, the 3-time MVP didn't exactly deny reports that he wanted to be traded out of Green Bay. But Packers management smartly held firm and waited patiently until A-Rod decided to come back to Titletown for at least one more season. The Packers obeyed several of Rodgers' wishes. They reworked his contract, agreed to trade him in 2022 if he so desires, and brought back old friend Randall Cobb for this season, as per his request. And hey, what do you know? The Packers are still a top-flight team with a championship window that's wide open. The Green Bay defense is the best it's been since the team's Super Bowl 45 championship season, and Rodgers isn't lacking in playmakers outside of Devontae Adams anymore. It just doesn't make sense for the two sides to call it quits after the season. Green Bay finally gave Rodgers some input on personnel decisions, and this is the best place for him to chase more rings. Does Green Bay really want to move forward with Jordan Love? Does A-Rod really want to play somewhere else that won't give him as many opportunities to compete for championships? For his sake, and for the Packers' sake, let's hope they agree to play nice and continue this successful partnership in 2022. There's no reason to end it, at least not yet. New team, Chris Godwin. Before he was given the franchise tag this past offseason, Tampa Bay Buccaneers wideout Chris Godwin made 2 things clear. 1, he wanted to stay put, and 2, he also wanted to get paid accordingly. Midway through the season, well, Godwin was probably thrilled that he took the franchise tag because his value had only skyrocketed. He was not only establishing himself as the best receiver on his team, but he was also looking more and more like a top 5 pass catcher in the entire league. Unfortunately, his remarkable 2021 season came to an abrupt end in Week 15 when he suffered a torn ACL during a home loss to the Saints. He had 98 receptions for 1,103 yards and 5 touchdowns through 14 games. While the injury and recovery timeline could provide a discount for teams looking to pursue Godwin next offseason, it's highly likely that the Bucs still won't be able to afford him. But considering his age, he'll be 26 next season, you can bet your bottom there'll be several wide receiver needy teams who will gladly take on the injury risk and pay up for Godwin services this offseason. Rob Gronkowski, Ryan Jensen, Leonard Fournette, Carlton Davis, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh will all be in line for big paydays as well. It'll be tough for Bruce Arians to keep the band together once again. They're gonna have to move on from a few of their pending free agents, and it's hard to believe Godwin won't be one of them. I totally expect the Pro Bowl wideout to hit the open market and get paid top dollar to chase a championship elsewhere. Stay. Tyron Matthews. The Kansas City Chiefs hit the jackpot when they signed safety Tyron Matthews to a 3-year, $42 million pact in 2019 free agency. Matthews was a key piece of the Chiefs' turnaround on defense in 2019, helping Patrick Mahomes and company win Super Bowl 54. His efforts and leadership guided KC to another big game appearance the following season. Matthews is the perfect chess piece for Steve Spagnuolo's aggressive, blitz-happy defense. He serves as a Swiss Army knife, capable of doing whatever is asked of him, covering top pass catchers, rushing the QB, you name it. Not to mention, he's one of the game's elite turnover artists. The Chiefs are up against the cap and have to re-sign offensive tackle Orlando Brown Jr., so keeping Matthews is easier said than done. But GM Brett Veach is a magician at working the cap, and everyone in that organization knows what Matthews brings to the table. Bringing the All-Pro safety back on a deal similar to the one he signed in 2019 makes all the sense in the world. Matthews will get paid what he's worth while also getting the opportunity to win more championships. Hard to complain about that. New team. Allen Robinson. After outperforming his 3-year, $42 million deal that was signed in 2018, Robinson was assigned the franchise tag by the Chicago Bears. Unlike Godwin, however, it hasn't worked out for A-Rob whatsoever. He has largely been a non-factor on Chicago's painfully bad offense, though it's hard to put much blame on the 3-time 1,000-yard wideout. The Bears have arguably the worst offensive line in the league, so it's been practically impossible for Andy Dalton and Justin Fields to do much of really anything. And when your pass protection is awful, it's hard for the QB to find his receivers. Robinson has no reason to re-sign with Chicago. Surely, more competitive teams will be happy to outbid the Bears for his services. And considering that Mitch Trubisky is the best QB Robinson has ever worked with, don't you think the guy will want to join a team with an elite quarterback for once? Maybe Robinson looks for a big contract, or maybe he takes a 1-year deal and looks to reset his market for 2023. If he goes that route, joining a team with a top-tier offense like the Chiefs, Packers, Indianapolis Colts, or Los Angeles Rams would set Robinson up nicely for the chance to increase his value. But the bottom line is this: there is absolutely no way that Robinson stays with the Bears beyond 2021. Stay. Marcus Williams. Unable to reach an agreement on a long-term extension with the cap-strapped New Orleans Saints, Williams agreed to play the 2021 season on the franchise tag. Now it's time for the standout safety to get paid what he's worth. New Orleans faces a tricky cap situation heading into 2022, but don't forget how GM Mickey Loomis maneuvered his way out of a miserable cap situation this past offseason. Everything's gonna be just fine. Williams, Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis, and Cameron Jordan round out a top 5 defense that has kept New Orleans competitive in year 1 of the post-Drew Brees era. The Saints' championship window remains open, so they have every incentive to keep Williams and the core of this defense together. One way or another, New Orleans will manage to keep Williams on board, with an eye on reclaiming the NFC South in 2022. New team, Chandler Jones. The Arizona Cardinals weren't keen on handing Jones a new deal before the start of the 2021 season. His production remains excellent, so it's not as if his market value has dropped. Arizona will soon have to pay big dollars to Kyler Murray, and prized free agent pickup James Conner is setting himself up for a nice payday as well. Jones remains a game-wrecking force, no doubt. But the Cardinals may be hesitant to invest a lot of money on a guy who's on the wrong side of 30. And of course, there's going to be plenty of interest in Jones. Even if Arizona meets his initial asking price, what if other teams are happy to outbid them? Any playoff contending squad would love to add the 3-time Pro Bowler to their roster. So look for Jones to chase the money and the chance to compete for a championship with a different team in 2022. It is a business after all. Stay. Kirk Cousins. Cousins gets a lot of hate and criticism, but the stats don't lie. This guy is far from the problem in Minnesota. Yes, the Vikings have failed to build off the magic of their 2017 NFC Championship run since signing Cousins, but his numbers have been excellent since 2019, and the odds of Minnesota finding a better quarterback in 2022 are very low. Minnesota is just a few pieces away from emerging as a serious threat in the NFC North. With Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook, Harrison Smith, Danielle Hunter, and Christian Darrisaw rounding out such a talented talented core, should many really unload Cousins and try to rebuild? Nah, give it at least one more shot with Cousins. See what he can do under the pressure of a make or break year. You don't move on from a Pro Bowl quarterback for the sake of it after all. New team. J.C. Jackson. With Stephon Gilmore gone, New England Patriots corner J.C. Jackson has emerged as the new franchise player in Bill Belichick's secondary. Jackson is basically what Gilmore was for the Pats during his 2019 Defensive Player of the Year campaign. An elite man-to-man shutdown cornerback and a pure ball hawker with a knack for coming up with game-changing plays at the most opportune times. Jackson stands to get paid a ridiculous amount of money. He's been arguably the game's top cornerback in 2021, and the recent mega extensions for Tre'Davious White, Marshawn Lattimore, Marlon Humphrey, and Jalen Ramsey bode well for Jackson's bank account. Jackson should easily get close to $20 million annually on his next deal. The thing is, Belichick has never been one to pay above market value for his top players. The man is always happy to let his stars price themselves out, only to find a cheap replacement elsewhere. Look at the history. Aqib Talib walked in 2014, and Belichick replaced him with Darrelle Revis. Revis left in 2015, and then Malcolm Butler stepped up as the new top corner. Then came Gilmore in 2017, and now here's Jackson taking the NFL by storm. Do you see a trend? Belichick will always find a way to replace his superstar cornerback. Jackson is in his prime years and likely won't be offering a hometown discount. So look for him to price himself well out of New England's range, and for Belichick to sign some undrafted corner to become his next future All-Pro shutdown guy. Stay. Davante Adams. The best wide receiver in the game has made it clear that he wants to be the highest paid receiver in the game. And hey, who can blame him? Adams has been the NFL's best wide receiver since 2019. There simply isn't a more dynamic pass-catching duo than Rodgers and Adams. And if the Packers are smart, they'll do whatever it takes to keep these two together. It's fair to say that Adams won't re-sign with the Packers if they cut ties with Rodgers in 2022. But as we noted earlier, Rodgers returning to Titletown just makes way too much sense not to happen. And if Rodgers agrees to come back in 2022, Green Bay owes it to him to re-sign Adams, because there is no way you're replacing this guy. Keeping Rodgers and Adams together is Green Bay's best way of maximizing a wide-open championship window. We shouldn't have to go on and on here. Having either star leave in 2022 will set the franchise back. So why risk it if you're the Packers? Just pay both men and keep them happy. But what other NFL superstars will find a new team in 2022? And which ones will stay put? Join us in the comment section below. If you like this video and learn a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.